Hey y'all, and welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, my name is Emily and I make recovery videos for severe anxiety, agoraphobia, panic disorder, DPDR, and so forth. So if you are struggling with that, definitely subscribe to this channel. I have lots of frequent videos that I post. Check out the link in the description to this video. I have my private Facebook community, which is where you can actually ask questions that will go on these future Q&As. I have my free recovery guide, and then I have my application for group and one-on-one coaching. So I'm going to hop in. This is going to be my part 3 of my latest Q&A. And then starting this week, either tomorrow or Wednesday, I'm going to release the newest Q&A. So if you're watching this today, September 30th, 2024, then you still have the opportunity to go onto my Facebook group and ask questions for tomorrow's Q&A video. All right. So, and just so you know, I mean, you can ask questions on the YouTube channel too, but Facebook typically is the best place where I have everything in one spot and you're going to have a better shot of getting it answered. So let's see here. Hopping over to Facebook. All right, let's pick up with Kristen. I would love to know what, if you could really nail it down, became the turning point for you. And then from that point on, what did the trajectory look like? Good days, hard days. So what I would say is for myself, the journey looked like 6 months of bedbound, housebound, definitely not driving, not walking, not doing anything. And so at that point, I was feeling just like very hopeless. I had checked out a lot of avenues, the natural health route, Western medicine, specialists, all that kind of stuff. And so I felt like at that point I had kind of hit a wall. I had tried like everything very quickly, relatively speaking, in that 6-month time span. And I felt like there was nothing left to try. So that was a big part of my turning point as I hit a wall and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to address the anxiety portion of this, the quote unquote anxiety, right? Because it's really just your body's in, over stress mode. So I had to address that. I joined a coaching program similar to what I offer now, same concept anyway. And so that was a huge win for me because it allowed me to get into a community of people that, I mean, were aware of what was going on, normalize what was going on, but also in a healthy way. It wasn't coping, it was recovery. I've got my baby behind me too, so hopefully he's chill for the rest of this video. But anyway, so joining that was helpful. And then I would say like actively making the decision of I'm going to push myself. I'm going to go all in, having like one foot in the door, one foot out the door with the recovery method is not key. And I was kind of dabbling in that for a little while. So going all in was a turning point. And then I would say I got, a little while into my actual recovery and I realized like there's going to be a lot to come. There's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, but I was starting to see like little glimmers of hope. And, I was doing all this exposure, quote unquote, living my life again. And I started to realize, okay, I can do this, alongside my symptoms. And so even if it was only for like little seconds, it was still enough to make me feel a bit motivated, like it was going to work. It was a little bit less blind faith, although I would say throughout the whole recovery journey, I had that in the back of my mind, like, will I get better? Is my case the worst? Is this even anxiety sort of thoughts? But yeah, so I'd say committing, going all in, being consistent, those were things that kind of like turned the corner for me. Definitely doing, I had this thing in my mind for a long time where I was like, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z when I feel good enough. Like I'm gonna drive when I feel good enough. I'm gonna go to the store when I feel good enough. I'm gonna make plans with my friends when I feel good enough. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way with anxiety recovery. And so I didn't feel good enough ever. I mean, I had to like push through it, show my body that I was safe by responding to really uncomfortable symptoms in the moment. And then with time, I started to feel better. So I think it's clear weeks, the only way out is through. And that is so true with anxiety recovery. So another thing I would say is scheduling my life, living schedule based rather than symptom based. Those were all turning points. And then, yeah, from there, it was just very much up and down. And I like to kind of like break recovery into different phases, I guess you can say. And in my opinion, I would say phase 1 is getting back into like normalcy, getting back into living your life alongside 10-10, chronic symptoms, panic, DPDR, all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, no breaks, right? Just constant symptoms, slowly getting your life back, crawling out of the hole, right? That's phase one. Phase two is getting to the point where you're like, okay, I can do this. I can go on the camping trip. I'm not scared of it anymore, but I'm going to feel so bad, right? So phase two is just you're living life. You're not really scared to live life, but you just feel like utter crap all the time. That's phase two, and that can last a while. Phase three is when you're doing all the things, and then you get these like moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I felt pretty good. What the heck? And so then that ups and downs all within, but then that eventually turns into more normalcy. And that's where I'm at now. It's like I enjoy everything now, like from like the good moments, like I was on the boat yesterday again, and I'm just sitting there like at peace. I'm not having all the symptoms I used to have with the internal tremors and the on edge feeling and everything that went along with that. I just felt at peace. And so it's something that I don't think I'll ever take for granted again. It's just really nice. And so phase three recovery is just living your life. Your body's not trying to tell you to stop anymore most days. And so, yeah, turning point to go back to the question is consistency, I would say. And joining the coaching was really helpful for me too. So, Randy, how to get through an anxiety attack when you are alone? Well, definitely go through my recovery guide, because what I started doing in the beginning, and let me just say, this is not what you should do. This is just what the only thing I knew how to do was go on YouTube, go on the internet, like try to find, videos to get me through the panic attack or whatever. And ultimately that's kind of like it falls in the camp of the whole like reassurance seeking. You're not really showing your body that you're safe because you're doing something to get the panic to go away. And when you're doing something to get it to go away, it's not going to go away. And that makes you more anxious, like all that stuff. So I don't recommend that. I recommend going through the guide, memorizing ideal, like literally make it your phone screen saver, like print it out, whatever you have to do, write it on your flipping hand and Sharpie for all I care. But remember it, memorize it, and practice it. And as this panic bubbles up, I want you to start using this as an opportunity to recover and to move forward, because ultimately, like, you don't recover by your symptoms just going away. That's a good thing, right? That's fine. Some people get in and out of the anxiety cycle that way, but then later on in life, they end back up in it because they never recovered. And recovery is being able to face your symptoms for what they are, handle them, respond to them, show your body that you're safe, move on, right? So that way it's not a threat anymore. It's just discomfort, extreme discomfort, but discomfort. So as that panic starts up and you're using ideal, which again, go through my guide if you haven't already, but it's going to show your body that you're safe. It's not going to be like a coping mechanism where it takes it away in the moment. It might not escalate it, but I mean, don't worry about that. It's just more of like the big picture, long-term brain retraining essentially is what that's doing. And it's training your body that it's kind of like misfiring, right? So ideal is the answer for that. Ideal approaching panic as an opportunity to move forward is really important. Yeah, so that's what I would say, simply put, and it's not going to be easy at first. And I'll say too, like the point of anxiety and panic, it's also in the Claire Weekes book, like she calls it first fear and second fear. And so when you're going through ideal, keep in mind, like, it's going to scare you. It's a big rush of adrenaline, and adrenaline feels scary. That's the point of it. And so you can't really, that's never going to change. If I got a panic attack right now, knock on wood, like I would feel scared. I'd feel that big rush of adrenaline. I'd feel like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And then I would know, okay, I got to respond. This is a misfire. I'm not in danger. There's no line. I'm chilling in my room. Respond. You're safe. It's all good. Nothing to do here. This feeling can linger. It's not going to kill me. Move on. What was I doing? Okay, I was on my computer. All right, back to what I'm doing. Right. And so, yeah, keep in mind that the first fear is very normal. One thing else that I'll say too is, like, when it comes to panic, I think the scariest thing is the fear of like what's on the other side if you don't stop it. It's like, if I don't do these coping mechanisms, if I let this panic escalate, what's going to happen? Am I going to go crazy? Like, am I going to faint? Am I going to whatever the fear is? And so part of recovery is facing that panic, realizing, hey, this feeling can be here. Don't need to do anything. It's only going to get so bad, right? All these fears are not real. It's just anxious thoughts, which is very normal in the scenario, right? But facing what's on the other side, because once you see what's on the other side and you realize, oh, there's nothing, even when I'm driving, even when I'm on a plane, even when I'm traveling, there's still nothing on the other side. It's just extreme discomfort. A lot of that second fear is going to go away, and then it's just yucky, you know? Okay. So I keep hearing that I don't, this is Jamie and David. So I keep hearing that I don't feel safe in my body and that my emotions are stuck. How do you begin to feel safe and feel emotions again? So just reading your thing. So I keep feeling I don't feel safe in my body and my emotions are stuck. Um, I would say I don't really take that approach so much just because it's like, I think the whole like counseling type approach is really helpful, you know, in general for everybody, right? At some point in your life. But I would say when you're in the anxiety cycle and you start digging into this whole like my emotions are stuck and like what's going on and childhood, whatever, it complicates the situation. You know what I mean? So like I would recommend approaching that kind of stuff actually when you're like a little bit further along in recovery because just my opinion, right? But I think it adds more to your plate and again it just overcomplicates things. So what I would say is just simply tell yourself, you know, hey, my body is in a state of, you know, chronic stress. My body's stressed out. My stress cup has overflowed. And now my body's kind of misfiring this response, right? Which is going to mess with my emotions, which is going to give me chronic physical symptoms, thought symptoms. My body's in this constant state of overdrive. You know, it's searching for danger in every facet of life, whether that's thoughts, whether that's symptoms, whatever it might be. This is why I have these types of thoughts. Also, with the low mood and the DPDR, you know, derealization, brain fog stuff, it's all in the same spectrum. You know, you've got panic over here, you've got DPDR over here. Your body's just trying to do whatever it thinks it can do to get you to like chill, you know, keep you safe, or flee, fight, you know, fight or flight. So whatever it's trying to do, it's all in the same spectrum. We don't need to dig so far into this. We don't need to like start telling ourselves that, you know, we have stuck emotions or whatever, because honestly, I think it's like overkill for now. Get to the point where you follow the guide, you're following response, you're rewiring your brain, you're learning what unproductive and productive thoughts are to even engage with, you know, because as you tackle some of the emotional type stuff later on, if you choose to do that, you want to be able to have a lens of, am I engaging with productive or unproductive thoughts? Because in the beginning, when I didn't have the tools to handle that, and I tried to go to counseling, now I feel like I had like a whole new slew of problems and just more things to think and think and think about and work through and fix or whatever. So again, I would just say keep it simple for now. Get to phase, you know, 2 of recovery, right? And then once you have the foundation laid, then tackle all the deep stuff, you know? Not saying it's not helpful, but when you got a lot going on, it's just overwhelming. So don't think too far into it, I would say. Kristen, again, so warning people going down the adrenal fatigue path naturally that they may be very likely stuck in the panic nervous system oversensitization cycle. That's my story. So yeah, man, all the like natural medicine stuff. First, let me say I love it. I am very like a natural person, but there's all these diagnoses that I have another video on it. You know, you've got POTS, dysautonomia, like adrenal fatigue, molds, SIBO, gut dysbiosis, Lyme. I could go on forever. And I think the problem is that a lot of this stuff, watch that video if you want to like deeper dive in that. But I would say like a lot of this stuff is it's almost like specifically adrenal fatigue. It's almost like a symptom more than a cause, I would say. It's like you can call it adrenal fatigue, but it's only because your body's in this chronic state of stress and not that like your adrenal glands are going south and then that's what's causing all your stress. That's like my personal opinion on it. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's different cases if you truly have like an adrenal disorder or whatever. But in general, you know, I would say when your body's in this chronic state of stress, your cortisol is going to be all over the place. You're going to have dysfunction in that area of your body because that's natural. But the problem is that people get sucked into and go down this whole rabbit trail is that they think, okay, so I have adrenal fatigue. I need to take supplements. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to do this. They create this very like rigid schedule, this very structure, like box that they kind of end up in, whether it's by diet or things they can or can't do or whatever it is, right? You have to get sleep at this time of day. Well, what happens when you don't? Then you're stressing yourself out about not getting sleep, right? And then it kind of just keeps the fuel or adds fuel to the fire and keeps the anxiety cycle going, I would say. So if you're in that boat, there's nothing wrong with taking that approach, trying some supplements, whatever. But I would also urge you to, at least, at the very least, alongside that, lay the recovery foundation for anxiety, remove the anxiety portion from everything that's going on in your body. And then you'll have a clear lens of how do I tackle this? How do I handle this? So I would say, again, just really focus on what's in my guide. If you want to continue to see your natural path, whatever, that's totally fine. But make sure that we have a clear lens on what we're doing, because otherwise it can just create more problems and keep you stuck. Okay, so Tony, after having good days, what do you do to get past the bad days that follow? So honestly, like I would say you're gonna wake up after a bad day and you're gonna feel a bit traumatized, right? Like you're gonna feel like, oh my gosh, either like I thought I was past that, or what the heck, or when's that gonna happen again, or is that gonna continue into today? I know after bad days, I would wake up and like the room just felt a lot brighter, but not in like a positive, bright way, like an overwhelming bright way. And I was just kind of like, oh, great, here we go again. My cortisol feels high. I just feel off. So when you wake up and you're feeling that way and like, here we go again, just tell yourself, it's like, you know what? Okay, how did I get through the good days as well? I tried to live as normally as possible, live based on my schedule, responded, let my body do its thing, right? How do I get through the bad days? The same exact way. And the bad days add an extra layer because ultimately it's kind of like strength training. It's a huge opportunity to move forward. So bad days are a good thing. So reframe it. Hey, here we go. It's an opportunity. Woke up again. We're still going strong on this bad day feeling, but it's okay because I'm going to live by my schedule. I'm going to get back into normalcy. Even if I threw it all out the window yesterday, that's okay. I'm just going to stick to what would I do if I didn't have anxiety. So I would say take that approach and get back into normal living as soon as possible. Respond to the symptoms as your mind goes through like all the thoughts of, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get better? Ideal, 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 ideal. We don't want to engage with those thoughts, right? Because they're not productive and they're not true, but even more so, they're not productive. So get back to living, live your day as normally as possible after that bad day, and try not to engage with all the what if thoughts that are going to be there. Understand your body's in a, higher anxious state in that time. So it's going to give you a lot of those negative thoughts and emotions, and that's okay, right? So bad days come, good days follow. More bad days might come, but more good days will follow. So, Sally, any advice for health anxiety when you're navigating the health system and need to monitor your symptoms for the actual health problems that you have? Symptoms that are not anxiety symptoms. Yeah. So I personally am still dealing with some of that. And when I fell into the cycle, I was dealing with that. But it was a bit muddy because when I first fell into the cycle, I felt like everything was wrong, and it was just like, when you have the health anxiety, it's like you get heart palpitations and you're like, well, is my heart wrong? And then you get this, you're like, is this wrong? Is this wrong? Is this wrong? Could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be this? And that just creates this vicious spiral. So now, right, I'm removed from the anxiety portion of the cycle. I still have got some things brewing. I've got some long COVID stuff. I have tested positive for lupus after COVID. There's real things, quote unquote, that are not anxiety related that are happening in my body. So I am pursuing them now. But what I'll say is the way that I'm pursuing them now is so much different, because in the past, I would get this thing in my head where, like, say I would get the blood test back and it's like, you have lupus. And I'm like, oh my God, in the anxiety cycle, I'm Googling, I'm Googling, I'm Googling. I'm calling every doctor in the city, trying to get the quickest appointment possible. I'm like, I have to get it. I have to get seen, like, what's happening. I'm on forums researching lupus. I'm talking to everybody on the phone about it. Like, I'm freaking out. And that's not healthy because it adds stress to your situation. So yes, you may very well have things that are going on in your body. Those things also may very well be caused from the amount of stress that you're under. Like for me, as time passes, the lupus stuff might fade away, because lupus is also something, autoimmunity can be stress induced. Like, yes, it's there, it's real, it's brewing, but stress can activate it. So it could be that it could be things that are out of your control and aren't going to go away, right? Maybe. So, getting back to where I was saying, like, I would say really choose how you approach it because, again, I would freak out before. Now it's kind of just like, all right, I'll take the appointment. I might get a second opinion for sometimes if it's like something that I'm really concerned about, or if it's like a big deal or procedures involved or something like that. But in between appointments, I'm not thinking about it. And if it pops into my head, I'm kind of just like, hey, well, you know what? All right, what are we going to do? Okay, you've got an appointment in a few months, nothing you can do now, move on, right? And it's as simple as that now for me. But in the cycle, it was just like spinning my wheels as fast as I could, burning out, trying to get help now. So, like, you can see that urgency there, I would say. And that's why I would urge you to tackle the anxiety portion and kind of separate it from whatever else is going on. Understand that some of that stuff may actually fade away as the anxiety clears up. Also understand that some of that stuff is there to stay, maybe for you. I don't know what your situation is. And it's important to handle it without adding anxiety, without adding stress to a situation, because stress is never going to make something better. And that's all that anxiety recovery is. It's not just getting rid of your symptoms, getting rid of your anxiety, going back to exactly how things were, the way they were before. It's learning how to process your thoughts, learning how to not add stress, not add fear, not try to fix things you can't fix, ruminate on things that are pointless, right? Really, 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 there's so much mindset involved with recovery. And I would say that would help you, even if you have like a chronic condition. Like there's people, in the world that have chronic, like what's the like conditions that like fatal, I guess you can say, like people that are terminal, you know what I mean? And it's like there's some terminal people out there that don't have anxiety. Can you imagine like how, someone that had health anxiety? I literally can't imagine, but it's like there's people that are walking that walk and they're just like, hey, I'm gonna live my life and this is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. Move on. And that's what they have to do in their mind. So I'm not saying you have a terminal condition. You most likely don't if you're on this anxiety page. You know what I mean? But in general, I'm just giving you that example of there's people that have it the worst of the worst and they don't necessarily have anxiety. So really understand that you've got a big problem with anxiety to tackle. And once you tackle that, I think that the health anxiety thing will dwindle down so much. It's not even funny. So tackle the anxiety first. Um, Amanda, tips for handling anger and depression caused by health anxiety. Like for me with dysautonomia, or how to handle a hypersensitive nervous system. So the second part, how to handle the nervous system, my guide, everything in my guide. Yes, definitely. You've got to let your body calm down because the problem is with the nervous system stuff, all that's happening is your body gets, overwhelmed, overstimulated, the cup overflows, starts giving you chronic symptoms. And then naturally, us people that are prone to anxiety, add fuel to that fire by trying to fix it, trying to fight it, fearing it, searching, all that kind of stuff. And that keeps the cycle going. So really and truly, your body would just calm down on its own if you didn't add so much fuel to it, which is what I did. Obviously, that's why I'm here talking about this. So I get it. But read my guide because you need to stop adding the fuel to the fire, and let your body recover naturally, which is really hard to do because it feels almost like, especially with the health anxiety, like you're giving up on yourself. And I felt that way a lot. Like I'm like, I feel like I should be doing more, I need to be doing something. And probably that like doing personality type, I don't want to say controlling in a bad way, but just like we want control, we want to fix, we're doers. That's typically a personality type you see when it comes to anxiety sufferers because it's the natural thing to do and it's the opposite of what your body needs. So read the guide. Second part, as far as like anger and depression, yeah, I had a lot of that too, for sure. Um, with the 5Fs, that's a video that I made. It's on my YouTube channel. It's really good. Definitely watch that video. It's something that I heard from Sean Kassem. I did not make it up, but it talks about the things that add fuel to this fire, basically. It's the opposite of ideal, and it's fighting, fixing, fearing, focusing, and frustration. So, like the anger, frustration is something that is definitely going to add fuel to the fire. And as you recover, you'll understand, like, hey, it's an unproductive emotion. Like, it's not that it's invalid, right? Like, it's hecka valid, in my opinion, when you're going through this. It's very valid, but it's unproductive and it's not doing you any good. It's not serving you well. So as you go through it, To give you an example of how I would use ideal in that situation. So say that you're sitting there and you're just like, this sucks, like I can't believe this happened to me. I can't believe that I'm in this situation. I should not be in this situation. Like, this is so frustrating. I feel like I'm never going to get better. I feel like, I can't get better, whatever the thoughts are, right? Okay, designate. These are unproductive thoughts. We don't have to even call them anxiety. They're just unproductive. They're not good, right? We don't need the whole false positivity thing. It's okay to feel that way in general, but we have to realize that engaging with these thoughts and going down the rabbit trail is not going to help us. So designate, these are unproductive. There's nothing I can do about them right now besides continue to recover, go down the recovery path, let it take time. IDE, embrace. So, okay, these thoughts can stay here. They're pretty valid, but I don't need to engage with them because engaging with them is not going to help me. It's going to take me in the other direction. Assuming that you're using the guide and stuff, you can tell yourself, I'm actively recovering. This is a marathon, not a sprint, but I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to take it day by day and it's going to be all good. Move on. Literally, so the A, the L, address the task at hand, live your life. I literally just tell myself, move on. What was I doing before? Okay, I'm going to get up. I'm doing the dishes. Right, right, right. 2 seconds later, it pops back in your head. Man, like, I can't do this forever. Okay. Designate. This is an unproductive thought. Okay. Embrace. Yes, you can. Even if you lived this way for the rest of your life, you would get through it. But you're recovering. So there's nothing you can do now. Let the feelings linger. They're not harmful. We got to let our body desensitize, move on. And I was diagnosed at Mayo Clinic with POTS and dysautonomia, by the way, and I am functioning. Okay. I'm fine. So does it flare up? Like, I mean, it's something that I believe can be underlying for people. It can stay forever, but I'm living a normal life. I exercise a lot. I just live a normal life. I go in the heat. I don't think twice about all that stuff anymore. So once my body like really got out of the stress cycle, all the dysautonomia symptoms toned down. They're still there, probably more than most people, but they're not a big deal. They're not life altering for me. So I would say, it can kind of become like more dormant for people. It's not a life sentence at all. Like when I'm pregnant, does it flare up? Yes, for sure. It flared up during all 3 of my pregnancies, but it is what it is. And now, I don't focus on it. I don't make any accommodations for it. I don't have any like thing that I'm doing. I'm not drinking a bunch of salt or wearing my compression socks. I don't do that stuff. So just know that as your body gets out of this state, it may be a complete non-issue for you. It may be something like me where there's, some genetic stuff going on. I have like EDS and the hypermobility and all that weird stuff that's kind of in that camp. So it could be that too. But even if it is, you're going to be fine. So ideal. It rewires your brain. It allows your body to get off of this, vicious, anxious thinking cycle. Last question for this call. Lucy, did you experience dreamless sleep? Haven't recalled the dream in about 2 years now and always wake up exhausted. I worry I'm tensing a lot in my sleep. So personally, I dreamt like literally every night and they were all bad dreams and nightmares. But my husband doesn't dream at all and he sleeps perfectly fine. So I wouldn't focus so much on the dream part of it. I mean, maybe your body, you could, if you've researched, you're probably asking from the sense of like, am I not in REM sleep or whatever? But I know my husband is, and he doesn't dream much. So it could be nothing. But even when I was dreaming, I like, it was so weird. They were all negative. I'd wake up sweating, heart palpitations, all that kind of stuff. And I've always dreamt a lot in my sleep, but I noticed like as I started to recover that my dreams became more neutral and more positive again, which was really nice. And then actually now I don't dream nearly as much as I did when I was in that phase. So it just might be like it's not your norm. So whatever your norm is, you'll probably get back to your norm, I would say, as time goes on. Don't focus on it too much. Waking up exhausted, I 1,000,000% felt that way. I woke up like I felt like I had gotten like hit by a bus, definitely tense, so much neck pain, back of head, back of neck pain, stiffness. It was unreal. So definitely like that's super normal. And all that you can do is go down the recovery path, read my guide, do all that stuff. Make sure that you're not adding too much focus and fear onto this. Don't think too far into any of this stuff. because you can't change your dreams, right? Not that I'm aware of, not in a normal way. So yeah, I would just say keep it simple. Go through the guide and understand that the whole waking up feeling like you're halfway dead is very normal. And like that has not gotten better for me until recently, and it's still not 100%, but I don't wake up feeling like death every morning. But I also don't wake up like a spring chicken either. So it's like somewhere in the middle. So I hope that helps. Yeah, but thank y'all so much for watching this. I'm gonna post another one either tomorrow or Wednesday as soon as I can get through today's thread. So if you're watching this today, go ask questions on my Facebook group thread. I'll make sure that I'm letting everybody in today to the group, and subscribe so that you can see more videos. Thanks so much.